Talking with the experts.
Please welcome Fee O'Shea for episode 274.
It's a difficult. If you're wanting to get it free, so there's a couple of ways. If you pay for, like on a WordPress website, there is a plugin called Yoast, and you can have that covers you for your SEO. You can have that free, which means that you get kind of like one keyword per blog. And when I say keyword, it could be a key phrase. So it could be more than, but it's a phrase. Whereas if you get a paid version, you can get 2 or 3 that will then hit on that one page. SEO is still pretty much the same as what it's always been. You have a keyword and you put it in you make sure that keyword is in your address, your URL, which is the address at the top. You make sure that it's in your title. You make sure that it's in your very first, which can be 1 or 2 sentences at the top, which you then put it under what they call an H1 or a heading 1, 2 or 3 heading. I think you put it in there, and then you make sure it's in the first paragraph of your post.
Are you a non-techie, introverted author, speaker, coach, consultant, or entrepreneur wanting to make an impact through podcasting? In 30 days working one-on-one with you, I can show you how to build authority and credibility for your business. I'm inviting you to shift your thoughts about podcasting and allow yourself to expand into the next level of your life and business by joining the Podcast Wizard 30-day program as I help you take your podcast from idea to launch. Find it at rose-davidson.com under the Work With Me tab.
Welcome to Talking with the Experts. This is where we discuss great ideas to take your business to the next level. How do we know these ideas work? Well, it's because we're talking with business owners who are using these ideas. Business owners who have years of experience and expertise. All things business by business owners for business owners. And now, here is your host, Rose Davidson.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. I'm your host, Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners, and you can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. And my guest today is the lovely Fee O'Shea. And I want to ask you this question. Do you know how to write great content? Do you know how to write content for your blogs and for your social media? Why is it important? Well, my guest today is a mother. She's a grandmother. She's an author. And just for fun, does comedy improv. Oh, wow. Terrific. Over the years, she has built many different websites for herself and others, but it's writing that is her primary passion. Fee has written and published 6 books centered around veganism, with the latest in early 2020, The Rise of the Modern Vegan, published just before the pandemic hit. She has created many ebooks, both PDFs and Kindle, and has helped others write and publish their own stories. Fee also has a standing column in the New Zealand Vegan Society magazine, published quarterly. She's been a blogger since the mid-2000s. Her posts are from politics to social media to beauty, health, and to the environment. She has 3 of her own blogs and writes for clients who offer various services on topics that she is often unfamiliar with at the start. And we're going to learn from Fee what makes good content and how to go about writing it. Welcome, Fee. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. And yeah, it's nice to be here. And just so that you know, I have a cat that is wandering around this little computer, probably meowing. She has recently lost her brother, so she's quite, sort of like clingy.
Tiny, yes.
So if she appears, if you see my arm going like this, it'll be to.
I could be. Yeah, we're the same. My cat likes to jump up and sit right in front of me whilst I'm in interviewing people. So yes, she thinks it's my turn now for attention.
Absolutely.
So what
absolutely.
makes good content for social media and blogs?
What makes good content? It's a mix. It's a mix of things. And I think that one of the important things, it does depend on what niche you're in. But generally speaking, people like to get to know you. So things that are on a personal level, and I don't mean, your family or what you've had for dinner or things like that. But if you can incorporate stories from your life that become examples of what you're trying to say, then that kind of brings in that beautiful personal human element.
Yep.
And that applies with short posts to long posts, to articles or whatever.
Yeah. And how important is it to keep your blog up to date on your website or any of your social media channels?
Yeah. The thing with a blog on a website, and honestly, the word blog, it can be a blog, but you can name it different things. You can actually call it something else if you want to. You can call it the resources, or you can call it, read more, or journals, or whatever you want to call it. The idea of it, and I always recommend that someone puts new content up once a month. Now, for two reasons. One, the big one is for Google or for the search engines. They actually see that your website is current. And if your website is current, it means that, the information is new. Google likes that. They're more likely to bump you up the rankings if you are showing that you're not just a website that, oh, look, nobody ever goes there, so to see a dormant website is not really good. The second reason is because people visiting, you're giving that added value. So if you're going into a website, say for example, I'm looking for a plumber, and I know that sounds odd. One of the things that irritates me is that the plumber's only got a Facebook page, and it's like I will see that the plumber is there, and I'll click onto it and it'll go into his Facebook page. And to me, it's like, well, where do I look? What are your charges? What can you offer me? Whereas if I go into a website, I can see, what his services he does, what his hours are, how much he charges, things like how many staff he's got. But an added advantage is if he has, say, a blog or something that he keeps updated with, say, maybe tips, frequently asked questions, those sorts of things. That's sort of the equivalent to a blog. And if he posts regularly, then that's giving added value, and I'm more likely to go and give my business to him than I am to somebody with just a Facebook page.
I agree. I would rather go to a website than a Facebook page, because the Facebook page doesn't have all that information. Well, it can do, but you've got to do a bit more searching around. And so if I go to a Facebook page, I always scroll down to see if they've got a website to go to.
Absolutely.
I'd rather get some information from there. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, other people don't, but that's just my preference to go shopping and finding a service as well. What makes a good blog, Fee?
I think, as again, it depends on the niche. I mean, I write for someone who is a life coach. So we look at different subjects, or she will give me, a subject to write about. And that is very different to, say, like what I write about in my personal blog, which is more funny or more taking the mickey out of something that's happened and having a bit of a rant about the politics or whatever. Whereas with her, we take a subject, but I still tend to find that the blogs that are using the first person, or that you sort of know that someone is, a person is actually writing it, if it's in the third person, it is generally a little bit more not as easy read, unless it is a scientific type of document. But depending on like your own niche, for example, I write in the first person. I want to hear that it's you talking.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, but I've always been, I had the impression that a blog was to be in first person and an article was to be in third person. So that's how I have treated, writing. Is that the case? Is that how it should be?
Well, it is. This is why I say you can call your blog anything. You can name your blog what you want it to be. So if you only want to sort of upload articles, say if you are a scientific magazine, you will have you have the ability to have a blog so that you're not actually having a separate page per article, you've got it running. That's called a blog. But you can call it, you can name it, articles, or you can name it, frequently asked questions, or you can name it whatever you want to name it.
Yeah, I got mine articles and blogs on my site, and then I write articles that are in third person or about something but don't involve me. And then I've got other, which is blog, which is my personal writings, which I write about things that I've done or involve myself in somehow.
Yes, and that's exactly right. That's really what a blog is.
Okay, that's interesting. I know SEO is a big factor in blogging or article writing. What is the best, what is the best way to structure a article blog to get best SEO ranking?
It's a difficult, if you're wanting to get it free, so there's a couple of ways. If you pay for, like on a WordPress website, there is a plugin called Yoast, and you can have that covers you for your SEO. You can have that free, which means that you get kind of like one keyword per blog. And when I say keyword, it could be a key phrase. So it could be more than, but it's a phrase. Whereas if you get a paid version, you can get 2 or 3 that will then hit on that one page. SEO is still pretty much the same as what it's always been. You have a keyword and you put it in you make sure that keyword is in your address, your URL, which is the address at the top. You make sure that it's in your title. You make sure that it's in your very first, which can be 1 or 2 sentences at the top, which you then put it under what they call an H1 or a heading 1, 2 or 3 heading. I think you put it in there, and then you make sure it's in the first paragraph of your post. And then you can put it in a couple more times, and I usually like to sort of get it in right at the very end as well. But the one thing you don't do is try and stuff your article with the keyword unless it's flowing naturally. So the biggest trick is to actually make sure that it's all very natural, rather than sort of like just poking it in here, there, and everywhere. But it's a tricky one. You need to sort of figure out what you want the keyword to be. You make sure that you have got the keyword at least, like in an image. If you have an image, when you're putting the image up, you've got the title of the image, and then you've got what's called the alt tag, and you need to have it in there. I always put in the title as well, but you need to have it there as well, so it needs to be in that. SEO is a big one. If you're really serious about it, then I recommend that you pay someone to actually really either teach you how to do it, or to take over, and you send them the article, they tell you what's a good keyword, etc. So yes.
Yeah, it's good advice. I've been really challenged with doing my own SEO, and I finally got it down so that I can get my articles up there, and it's all green ticks all the way along now. So I'm really happy with that. And I'm My pages are sitting at around 81, 82 out of 100. So
that's good.
And it takes a while.
The other thing that you can do too is go back through your articles and have a look at, you know, the analytics of the articles, see which ones are getting the better hits, see which ones are creating the most traffic. And some of your older posts, you can actually redo them and repost them. So, you know, sort of bring them up into the modern thing and just update them. And yeah, so the ones that are doing really well, redo them. That's sort of something that you can be doing.
Now, a good thing about blogs is you can repurpose the content to put in your social media posting, or you can do a live video or a small, 5-minute training with any of the content that's in your blog. How easy is it to pull out bits and pieces if you are, not very proficient at blogging?
I think that if you begin to when you're starting, and if you're not proficient, then have a look at doing, say, 4 bullet points. So if you decide that you're going to want to talk about frogs, I don't know where that came from, but you want to talk about
frogs.
Why not? Why not? Have, say, 4 headings. So you would have one that's a green frog, a tree frog, a brown frog, and because you're in Australia, the toad,
purple frog.
Cane toad, yeah, purple frog. So have those, but have 4 kind of like bullet points, and then take each bullet point and write a little bit about it. Once you've kind of done that, then you just need to make sure that you can flow it, make sure it's all flowed. But what that does is that it gives you 4 separate posts. So you can take, so if you are, whatever your subject is, you might be a mother writing about, children. So you decide that you're going to do something about, getting ready for school or something. So pick out 4 kind of like bullets that you can, or 4 headings. When you're writing it, you want to write it so it all flows, but you know that you've got those 4 headings, and then you can take one of them out easily and make a completely separate post out of it. That gives you 4 posts. On top of that, you can take one sentence out, turn it into a quote, and use that as a quote, and then have a little wee couple of sentences for the actual caption of the quote, and then have a link going to your blog post. This is where LinkedIn is actually really good, because you can take the whole blog and you can put it into LinkedIn as an article. And then from there, you can constantly go back to it, and LinkedIn don't mind. Most social media platforms do not like you going off the social media platform. So external links, I always sort of say, if you're going to do an external link, put it into your first comment, or as soon as you've posted it, put the link into the comment. Yeah,
that's what they advocate for Instagram. Don't actually put it in the comment part. Post your whatever it is you post, and then in the comment section, be the first comment and put the link in there. Apparently gets more reach that way.
Yeah, and Facebook is the same.
Yes, I keep forgetting to do that, but I think it's just a habit thing.
It is.
Yeah, I guess, what other tips, would you like to share with us about, having good content and, using your website to its best advantage?
I think the biggest thing is, if you've got a website, you've probably got a social media page, and you're across social media as well. One thing I sort of recommend is that you have a look at which platforms you use, and use the platforms that are going to be the best for you. Now, you may only need to use 2 platforms. Someone like a business coach, honestly, they don't really need Instagram. But Facebook and LinkedIn, right? Someone who is selling clothes, or selling, children's wear or something, they are more going to be into Facebook again, and Instagram or Pinterest. and Instagram. So figure out what, that's the first thing, is figuring out which platforms will go with your website. And another thing to sort of really think about is being consistent all the way through. So the same cover that you have, say, on your website or very close to it, you will have on your Facebook, on your LinkedIn, your YouTube channel, wherever. Instagram, they don't do covers, but those, the covers. And one thing that does annoy me is I see people have gone onto LinkedIn and they've got their profile picture, but no cover. And that's because they think, oh, I never use it. But they've put information up there and I go I might say, look for them, and it's like, it looks blunt. It does not look professional and it turns me off. I sort of think, well, if you don't need to be using it, don't use it if you don't want to use it, but just understand that people are actually going to find you and look for you. So you need that consistency of brand all the way through. Same profile picture and across the board. And it should be the first picture that is seen on your website of you. I mean, you can be a full length one, but that's who you are. So that is a huge tip. And I see so many businesses not, sort of, it's like that. It gives the impression that they don't really care. It doesn't matter,
I mean, I've been friended. It's been sent Facebook friend requests recently without anyone having a profile picture or a cover picture, and I think no. Straight away, I don't know what you look like. You haven't posted on your profile for over a year. No, I don't think so.
Exactly. It's important as far as keep your website up to date. Always keep it up to date. Make sure that the back end is updated all the time, that your plugins and those sorts of things. And it's something that's very easy to do on your own. You don't, unless, I mean, if you've got a platform like Wix or Squarespace or one of those ones, they do all that stuff for you. But if you have a WordPress one, you just go into the back end and just make sure everything's all, up to date. Very easy to do.
Yeah, I'm doing mine at the moment. I'm doing mine. I started just before we spoke. I've got to go and do a little bit more to it because I'm going to amalgamate 2 websites. I don't really need to. So I've got one for my podcast and one for my business, but I'm going to amalgamate them and really they're going to find me in the one place rather than 2. So
that's a good idea. Very good idea.
Saved me money too in hosting.
Absolutely.
Oh, Fee, it's been a pleasure. Where can people find you if they'd like to know more?
I am at White Rocket, and it's Rocket with a ROCKIT. And the reason, the name,
I'll tell you the Rocket.
Name. Exactly. It's white because I've got white hair. And it's, Rocket. I'm still rocking it at my age. I'm still rocking it. So it's whiterocket.com. And that's probably the best place to start. But I'm also on LinkedIn. That's possibly the one platform. I'm more on LinkedIn than what I am on Facebook. I am on Facebook, as is everybody. But LinkedIn is the platform of choice. In fact, LinkedIn is actually becoming a lot more like Facebook was.
Yes.
So,
it's much more user-friendly than it used to be even 2 years ago. So, they are improving, absolutely. I must say.
Absolutely.
And where can they find your books, Fee?
Once again, on my website. I do have another website. It is called goldcardvegan.com, and this is a website I have built. It is a resource website. It's not all my books are on there, but it's a resource website, so it tells you what if you're interested in veganism or plant-based, what books to read, what documentaries to watch. There's some recipes on there. There's a whole heap of information on there. But there are links to that on my White Rocket website. So, yes.
Absolutely excellent. And do you have any final words that you'd like to share with us today?
Yeah, the biggest thing is to keep your website up to date, and in so far as using the blog as a way of doing that, because you only need to write 500 words. You don't need to write a lot, but 500 would be the minimum. And that's more for Google than anyone else. So if you're wanting to write just short little things with maybe some images in there and just little captions to it, write maybe 2 or 3 during the month, not just 1 a month. But otherwise, just write 500 words or longer if you want, and do it. I usually sort of say to be right on top of it once a month. You can make it longer if, stretch it out a bit more. But definitely once a month, and especially when you are first starting out.
Yeah, it gets those algorithms going.
Yes.
All right, Fee, thank you so much for your time today, and hopefully we can catch up again later in the year.
I'd like that. Thank you very much, Rose.
Thanks, Fee.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com, and be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time. Talking with the Experts.